Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Volume 9, Chapter 2 of RWBY. So, we started off the volume last time with our welcome to Wonderland. We got to get reacquainted with our main team and see how they're acclimating to this strange new world. Ruby meets Little, a mouse she names herself, who seems very helpful, but said one thing in the first episode that was a little, not really suspicious, but weird. They said that they don't have anything to do yet. Ruby emphasized that last part, saying yet, and then Little just completely moved on. That was never gone into. So that clearly is going to be something. I don't know what at this point, but it's going to be something. On top of that, we had Blake and Weiss having met up at some point, and now searching for Gamble's shroud. They find it, but are captured by a group of mice, similar to Little, and Ruby and Little end up coming across them, helping get Blake and Weiss freed, and they all kind of, I guess you could say, ally together. The mice are, helpful now. So the three of them continue upward. They're heading up to a cliff to get a better lay of the land, and there they end up coming across the Jabberwocker, which is this weird creature, not a Grimm, just some kind of creature that is glitching around and muttering to itself just simplistic words that are describing what it's doing, which is delightfully creepy. And that's when Yang comes in. She joins with them to help fight it off because she had already been fighting it. It runs off, and the reuniting is complete. However, Weiss ends up talking about what happened, including about Penny's sacrifice, which leads Ruby to passing out. Upon awakening, they decide to just continue forth and try to do their best to get back, while Blake kind of puts forth the idea that they are in a fairy tale rather than being dead. Which, yeah, it's pretty clear they're not dead, obviously. But I don't think it's just that they're in a fairy tale. I think there's more to it than that. But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. The opening gives us some little hints of stuff to come, Neo is going to become the equivalent of the Mad Hatter to some degree. We're going to have the Queen of Hearts come into play. Obviously, we still have the excuse me. We still have the Jabberwocker to deal with. Jean hasn't shown up yet. And then there's this new girl who apparently is from the books, from what I heard. I hope that the series, the writing here, will allow us to get a good grasp of her character without having needed to read the books, because I have not read the books. I've not read the books or the comics or anything. So I hope that even without the knowledge of that, the writing here will still allow us to understand who she is, her character, and what's going on. Enough, at least. Basically, I don't want it to be like what the MCU has been doing, Like the MCU, with its shows, its Disney Plus shows that you need to watch in order to understand stuff for the movies now. I don't like that concept. I think that's a terrible idea. And I really hope that RWBY doesn't do that. Apparently DC is going to be doing that too, which is also concerning because of RWBY kind of collaborating with DC. Um, but apparently, yeah, DC is going to be going forward, be kind of doing animated movies, games, and live action movies, all with like the same cast and the same storylines. It's like all gonna connect in like this multimedia project, you could say. I don't like that. I think that's a stupid idea, and it's greedy. It's a greedy, selfish, money grubbing tactic, and nothing more. There's no like genuinely good reason for it outside of making money. And yes, I know they're a business, but still, it's going to alienate a lot of fans. It just is. So I hope that Ruby's not doing that. I hope that this new character, again, is just able to be completely grasped without needing to read the books. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes and what more we have in store for this volume. It sucks that this volume is going to be so much shorter. It even seems like the episode lengths are in general going to be shorter. Um, I understand why with the pandemic production and everything, but at the same time, it does suck. It really does. um, I hope that they're able to get the next volume out, like obviously not with as much of a break in between, but also have it be like have it feel more full. You know what I mean? Because I think I heard that this is the shortest that with the shortened run times and episode amount that it's going to be the shortest volume since I think one, but it could be two. It could be two. One or two though. Point is, it's really short. And if this is gonna almost entirely focus on this Wonderland, or as some people like to call it, Ever After, if it is gonna almost entirely focus on that, which based on the opening and stuff, it looks like it probably is. Then this might basically be equivalent to a transitional volume, a transitional season, which isn't a bad idea. It's just, I would have wanted more, you know? I feel like just ignoring basically everything that's happening with everyone else who didn't fall. It's like, I want more Nora, you know? More Nora, more Emerald, more of all of them. I don't want to just ignore them for this. I want them to be included as well. But we'll see how this goes. Hell, I might just still love this season no matter what. And it might continue hopefully will continue my beliefs that each volume is better than the last. Because again, even though I had my misgivings about how the last volume ended, especially regarding Penny, mainly regarding Penny, I still think overall the volume was the best so far. So I'm hoping that volume 9 continues that. But let's find out, I guess. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, they are literally in a fairy tale. But I still think there's more to this. This is they're going through the motions of this fairy tale that they have all read, they all know. It's basically just Alice in Wonderland, just like slightly different. Like, we know what the inspiration there. Like, the main character's name is even Alex, who I guess is the character in the opening that we see. Um, this definitely seems like it's going to be a transitional chapter, especially with the pacing. And I feel like some people are going, or transitional volume rather. I feel like there are going to be some people who are going to be upset by that. But again, you have to remember that this was produced and everything during the pandemic. Like, it's pretty reasonable that the RWBY weren't able to do more. Like, yeah, I would love to see more with everyone else too, but the fact that this is clearly like going to be just this until maybe the very end. Like, I think it's fair. The next volume will probably be more like regular length and everything. Um, but in the meantime, so they discover they're in a real life version of this story. This story could have been based on real life events, like the girl in the tower was, and everything, and the four maidens and other stories in the lore of this world of Remnant. Um, but either way, they're living out kind of the events and going along the path. Um, so they have to get back Yang's arm from Jinxie the raccoon. Someone, a sneaky raccoon who steals things from people, and sometimes apparently people too, with the mouse, and magically transforms them into what appears to be rare and valuable objects before auctioning them off to the citizens of towns. And instead of taking money, Jinxie takes ideas and actions and stuff like that. Like, for one, he just simply wants a hug. And it's for this, like, rabbit figure that in reality is actually a mouse and a cheese plant. But, like, for Yang's arm, which is made to look like a staff, what he wants as payment is your knowledge of what it feels like to be loved. Meaning that if he takes that, you will not know what that feels like anymore. Which is really fucked. And this is not like a new concept. I've seen this done in I think somewhere else. One or two things elsewhere. I can't think of exactly where it was right now. But like the idea of like taking more conceptual things like that instead of money or whatnot. It's been done somewhere else, I swear. I just can't think of where. If you can help me figure that out, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, it's like that is a very steep price to pay. And then the third object is this mysterious trinket that in reality appears to be the Vorpal Blade. If you know your Jabberwocky lore, the Vorpal Blade is the one weapon that can kill the Jabberwock. It is a very powerful sword. And in this, it seems to have a slight resemblance to Penny's weapon. At least from a base level. Which is why you can see why RWBY made the comparison. And she was drawn to it as well, just inexplicably drawn to it. Now, she was initially told that the price for it was enough hope to fill up the jar that the raccoon had, that Jinxie had. But it was made very clear that she didn't have that much hope left, and that's something that's becoming more and more abundantly clear. RWBY is losing her ability to hope, her ability to have faith in everything and anything. She's becoming apathetic. Not from an outside source like the apathy from Volume 6, but because of everything that's been happening to them. And especially the major losses that happened at the end of the last volume. And especially after learning about Penny having died again. RWBY is suffering. And she's not the only one. We see that Weiss and the others are facing a lot of emotional turmoil as well. And that's completely fair. Like, Weiss is correct. Like, they did everything they could to save Atlas, and it was unsuccessful. And it's her home. Atlas is her home, and she cared about it and wanted to protect it. Both the people in the city and underneath it. She very much cared for Atlas. And it's gone. And that's fucked her up. And I can't blame her. And RWBY is she's just dying inside. And remember, it's like RWBY is supposed to be that spark of hope. That one small spark that ignites change and everything. Or whatever it was that Salem said in the voiceover stuff in the early volumes and all. The idea of RWBY losing that hope of becoming so apathetic towards everything and dying inside like this, it's not good for a lot of reasons. It's really bad, actually. But we know that she'll come back from it. Because she has to. And because she at least does have her friends there. She's going to fall hard. She is going to break. But she will come back from it. I have faith in that. I have hope in that. I truly believe that. And now they're on their way to the Red King's birthday party. Instead of the Queen of Hearts, we're gender swapping it here. And the Royal Guards were trying to get the staff that ended up actually being Yang's arm for his present. But instead, RWBY convinces them to take the Vorpal blade instead. And allow them to present it as a gift for him. So this is going to be interesting. It seems like each episode, at least based off the pacing we've got so far, we're going to deal with one facet of this world. With episode 1, we dealt with the mice, and an appearance by the Jabberwocker, who will most certainly appear again, of course. Episode 2 was Jinxie, and the auction. Now, episode 3 is going to be the Red King. So, is episode 4 going to delve into the Cheshire Cat, or is that going to still be a little later? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it seems to be going kind of in that direction with its pacing. And I think that's completely fair. And I still say there are going to be some people who are going to hate on that, who are going to say the pacing is all like too quick. And it's like, again, just try to remember why it's like this, and just try to get over the feeling that it's not going to feel like previous volumes. Even a lot of the humor is more akin to early volumes. Like, you see Weiss in the background, like, mumbling to herself and, like, panicking, basically, over how illogical this world is. It's like, with the bubbles and everything of showing her, like, confusion, it's very reminiscent of like volumes 1 and 2 humor, especially volume 1 humor. Um, like it kind of makes you think back to like when RWBY went chibi mode while geeking out over the weapons when they first arrived at Beacon. It kind of makes you think of stuff like that. And that's not a bad thing, but it's very different from how the volumes recently have been. And so a lot of people are going to face a little bit of tonal whiplash with that. And I feel that's fully intentional. We're supposed to feel out of place here. It's supposed to feel fucking weird because it's Wonderland. Even though they're calling it the Ever After in this universe, it's Wonderland. It's going to be fucking weird. That's kind of the point. Still no signs of Neo or Jean in the Ever After. Like, again, we saw Neo when they were falling, her and RWBY, but we didn't see any sign of her in the Ever After yet. And same with Jean, so they haven't come into play again. But they are in the opening, so we will see them. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this comes into play. Because again, with only 10 episodes, and with them being around 17 minutes or so each, it's going to definitely be different in terms of pacing, in terms of just everything. So I'm wondering how and when everything is going to be reintroduced and all. And what is going to be the truth about this place? I'm thinking it has something to do with the God of Light. I don't know what, and I don't know why. But I think it does. That's my theory right now. That this is like some kind of in-between world. Like, I guess you could say like a purgatory. That the God of Light created. And that falling from the platform is one of the only ways you can get there, I guess. There's probably other ways, which I would assume, because there has to be a way for them to get back. There's a question. If it is the God of Light, will they end up meeting him? That would be wacky. That would be absolutely wacky. Like, I almost feel like that's impossible, though, because he and the God of Darkness, his brother, they both left. Like, the God of Light only stayed a little bit longer just to bring Ozma back, but then pieced out again and says, like, okay, bring these relics together. That's how me and my brother will come back. We won't come back until then. And when we do come back that way, if humanity has not learned to, fucking get along, we're going to wipe you all out. Because we're done with this bullshit. You guys are being put on timeout. Get along, or you're getting punished. We're giving you a spanking. It seriously kind of makes me think of that. Like parents, like, grounding and punishing their kids and shit. Even though in this scenario, the gods are not as innocent in this regard. But still. Yeah, it's really interesting so far. I'm very fascinated by the concepts they're bringing in. I've heard some people saying that this doesn't feel like something RWBY would do, and it's like, are you fucking high? This is as RWBY as it gets. Like, RWBY has always been based on fairy tales. This has always been a thing. The very first trailer, the very first thing anyone saw of this series was the Red trailer, which was literally Little Red Riding Hood shooting a bunch of big bad wolves. It's like, fairy tales are in the DNA of this series. Trying to say that this fairy tale goofiness doesn't come across like RWBY is just stupid. and provably false. Like, this is as RWBY as it gets. Yes, it's goofier than previous volumes have been. But the early volumes, which everybody loves to praise so much, it's like, oh, the early volumes were the best. It was more of Monty's vision. These new volumes are so boring and so slow and don't have enough cool action. It's like they love to praise the early volumes, but like suddenly we have a newer volume with the same kind of goofy humor as the early volumes, and it's like, oh, suddenly this doesn't feel like RWBY. It's like, just want to slap them. This fandom is so fucking toxic. Like, ugh. Of course, it's a fandom, so fair. I mean, there are worse fandoms. There are. But there's also a lot that are not this bad. I'm not going to go into all of the kind of shit I've seen in fandom discourses and whatnot, because that's just going to make me angry. But yeah, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of episode 2 of RWBY Volume 9? Let me know, and thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.